let's go to a more serious note and talk about your beloved Bulldogs. Now, a lot of Bulldog people are pretty disappointed with the way the team's been going this year. Is it fair to say that the problems probably started with the club probably some 10 years ago with a number of the recruiting decisions that the club's made in the last decade?
Well, guys, in the day, before we get into that, I love the Bulldogs. I'm passionate about the Bulldogs, as you are, Grant, and we are concerned how our footy club's going. It's very simple as that. And it does go back to our drafting. You know, you go back to probably 202, 204, 206, and, you know, there's been a lot of issues, particularly regarding that 206 drafting.
Well, let's have a look at the draft, some of the draft picks, and we can see there, Doug, in 2002, he picked up Tim Walsh, pick number 4, missed out on Lonergan. Isaac Thompson, never heard of him, but we could have had Sam Fisher.
Yeah, that's right. And then we got, you know, Ryan Griffin, we're not going to argue there. Dylan Addison, you know, Jared Grant, could have had Dangerfield or Rioli. Jared Grant's got time to mature. We hope he can do that. Liam Jones as well there. Mitch Robertson. And just the last 209, Christian Howard. We could have had 5. And obviously Sam Reid, who's the son of an ex-player, Bruce Reid, ended up going to Sydney. So we missed one there.
2 of them, 2 Reids.
So the drafting really has been, you know, it hasn't been that flash. Matter of fact, it's been pretty ordinary, the drafting.
Doug, you're looking at that list there. I mean, who, back at that time, I mean, who was the recruiting guy? Because it comes down to the recruiting guy. I mean, who was there?
Well, the recruiting bloke then would have had to been Scott Clayton. I mean, that has to go back to Scott's.
So you think he's done a good job, or?
Well, going by that, no, he hasn't. No. You know, and I think that the big one would be the 206.
Yeah. Let's have a look at that, Doug. That
there's 4 or 5. Have we got that, have we, Grant? Have we got that on?
Yeah, we have. We'll get that up for you. Doug, 2006, and very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You know, Everett, not there anymore. Now it's Sydney. You know, Stack, not there anymore. Hill now down at West Coast Eagles. Malcolm Lynch, I think, might be at Collingwood or wherever or somewhere. North Melbourne. And Paul O'Shea, well, I'm not sure who Paul O'Shea is, to be honest. So to look at that, those guys there, you're looking at 206, should be around now 100, 120 game players, where that 24 to 28 year bracket, which we do lack, we haven't got it. We've got the top age guys around the 30s, led by Bordy and Crossy and G and these type of guys and Lakey, but we haven't got the 24 to 28. Of course, we've got the Wallaces and the Liberatores coming through, but there it is. Recruitment has been an absolute train wreck. That's why Brendan McCarthy at the moment, you know, we're getting beaten by 10, 15 goals nearly every week for the last 10 weeks. There's your issue. Your recruiting's been ordinary, going back.
Yeah, look, I don't know about these stats. I reckon they could be a little bit deceiving, I reckon, because, when I first wanted to come to the AFL, I wanted to come to a good side. I didn't want to come to an ordinary side because I know how difficult it is to play an ordinary side. Now, these other players, they might have been fast-tracked because they're in a good side. Is there a little bit of merit in that, Dougie? I mean, I'm not saying that's the only reason, but there's a little bit of merit in that.
Well, Gilbert, I get frustrated when we look at our group now and we're trying to educate these boys how to play footy, play contested footy, total footy it's called. But I get frustrated when I don't see our younger guys really improving. You know, the Grants and the Jones and these type of guys have gone a step backwards, if you know what I mean, to go forward. And I get frustrated when I don't see that improvement in the players.
Dougie, recently the club re-signed a number of players, including Daniel G in Syracuse, Daniel Cross for another 2 years, Tom Williams, Justin Sherman, Patrick Vez-Premi for 3 years. Have they got those decisions right with those sorts of players?
Well, no, they haven't. You know, and, what's wrong with the days of maybe 1 or 2 year contracts? There's a guy at Richmond, Shane Tuck. Shane Tuck plays like he's playing for his life. You know what I mean? He's on the 1 year contract, happy to do that. And in your day too, John, I think Martin Pike might have been at Brisbane when he was playing for a 1 year contract. And you play, I know what it's like. When I hit 30 at the Bulldogs, I got a 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. And you know what you do? You play for your life. And I reckon these guys, who you say there, Grant, it staggers me to see guys who get rewarded who haven't played much games. You know, 3 games to Williams, 12 games to Nathan Shakira, thank you very much. Sherman's played 10 games, you know, this year. Patrick
Vez-Premi.
He played 8 games. Andrew Hooper's played 2 games. You know, Andrew Hooper and hasn't had much of a go. He may not be there next year. You know, Lucas Markovic, you know, he may not be there next year. I don't know. I just... The idea of giving that is it's got to be responsibility. It's got to go back to probably to your Simon Garlics, and of course James Fantasia. They're the guys that are responsible for this sort of stuff.
Dougie, I'm absolutely just bewildered with that. Where you play one game, you got a 2-year contract. Jeez, I wish I was playing now. But we talk about players and coaching, but what about the top? I mean, Smorgan's. He's been there, 10 years? I mean, do you think there might be a change? I was at a club at Geelong. We had a couple of CEOs come through and a president, there had been some changes. I mean, do you think his time's up? He needs there needs to be a bit of a change up at the top at the moment? Because,
Burnsy, he's been terrific. David Smorgan has been absolutely fantastic at that footy club over the last, I think it's 17 years. But 17 years is a long time. And I know David fairly well, and David will move on when the right person comes along. What we need now...
Have you got the right person now for him?
Well, I can't answer that, Gil. I can't answer that. But...
Grant Hansen?
But, Grant, why not? Grant could be Paul DiMartino. I know Paul's been mentioned a few times over the last couple of years, and put his hand up on a couple of occasions. But, Bernie, to answer that question, I think it's time now that David does move on. And maybe the CEO in Simon Garlick, maybe James Fantasia, they move on as well.
One word, Dougie, Brendan Favola. You wanted him recruited to the club.
I did. I wanted him, and the club decided that he wasn't in the culture. Would have took pressure off Jones, would have took pressure off Grant, cost us nothing. He takes the best defender every week. We go inside 50 that many times, we can't kick goals. Dougie, it's a broken record. It may never happen. It will never happen.
Well, Dougie, you're the living legend of the club at the moment. Teddy's passed on, Charlie Sutton's passed on. You are the #1 living legend of the Western Bulldogs Football Club. And anyone can speak about that club. I reckon it's you that needs to talk.
I love the club.
Well done, Dougie. Well done, Doug.